God damn it, I thought I was done responding to Death Battle! Hey guys, it's the Mellow Blake 5, and welcome to my response to Death Battle, Tracer vs Scout. Now, unlike my previous Death Battle responses, I don't necessarily disagree with the results. This is because I have not played Overwatch, at least not yet, and I have not played Team Fortress 2, so I don't know enough about the characters to make a full judgment. However, the reason why I'm making this video is because I found issues in the reasoning as to why, spoiler alert, Tracer won. This is even coming from someone who, when finding out what the matchup was and after seeing their analyses, was leaning towards Tracer winning. At first, there was only one thing in the reasoning that I disagreed with, but then I started to notice more and more issues over time, partly because of thinking about it myself and partly because of other people arguing against it. But before I get to the reasoning, I just want to address one thing. I'm not going to talk about the whole Overwatch versus Team Fortress 2 debate that this battle was kind of inspired by, since it has nothing to do with the results, and honestly, it's a really stupid debate in my opinion. The first point in the reasoning for why Tracer won was that while Scout was fast, Tracer's unique weaponry and evasiveness gave her the edge. Granted, part of the reason why I thought Tracer was going to win was because Overwatch is set in the future, so her technology would be more advanced, but the issue of referring to Tracer's weaponry, as expressed by a lot of people in the comments, is the fact that the battle appeared to completely ignore Scout's other weapons. Scout has a variety of weapons, but in the battle they only used his basic shotgun, pistol, and bat. Now, some people have claimed that these weapons were apparently considered, but were just never shown. For one, I don't know if that's true or not, but if they did consider Scout's other weapons, they could have said in the conclusion something along the lines of, even Scout's other weapons wouldn't have given him the advantage over Tracer. The other argument I've heard is that since in Team Fortress 2, characters are only allowed a limit of 3 weapons, or something like that, so they staying true to the game. I find 2 issues with the statement. First is that if they did decide to give Scout this weapon limit, they could have at least given him his most powerful weapons like the Force of Nature or his stronger baseball bat, since Death Battle clearly states it uses its fighters at their maximum potential. Second is that, if Mega Man can have more than 8 weapons in Mega Man vs. Astro Boy, I don't see why Scout should be limited to 3 weapons. Also, placing a limit on Scout is basically giving him a handicap, which messes with the whole maximum potential rule. Scout has a larger arsenal than Tracer, as her only weapons are her pistols and the pulse bombs, so giving Scout only 3 weapons is a big issue in my opinion. As for Tracer's evasiveness, we encounter another issue. That being the differences between game Tracer and animated Tracer. Now, I haven't seen any of the Overwatch animated shorts, except for part of the Widowmaker one for this video, but I do know that in them, Tracer's blink ability is indefinite, while in the game, she has a 3-second recharge. Now, not only is this important because I saw a video which showed that Scout is faster than Tracer when she has that 3-second recharge, but if they were just sticking with Tracer's feats in the shorts, then that would be fine, but they actually list the recharge time in her analysis, but just ignore it later on. Also, it comes across as very hypocritical to me when they decide to use the inconsistencies from the animated shorts for Tracer, but not for Scout. This takes me over to the next part of the conclusion, which was also the part that I immediately found issue with. Scout's greatest feat was that he survived hits from 3 rockets at the same time. But this feat is completely discredited because, as Boomstick says, the point of impact is never directly shown. What they completely failed to do here is to try and determine where the rockets actually landed, and there is an easy way to do this. Look at the angles the rockets are facing. By looking at the rockets' angles and predicting where they're going, you can see that the rockets do directly hit Scout. Furthermore, before Scout is actually hit, the camera shifts to a first-person view from the rocket's perspective. And once again, it shows that Scout did suffer from a direct hit. And while Boomstick also says that rockets have been shown to kill tougher characters in Team Fortress 2 like the Heavy, so it's unlikely that Scout's case would have been any different, but again, Death Battle uses characters at their maximum potential, so Scout's greatest feat of durability should be given to him unless it really was an outlier, which, as I've shown, it wasn't. Next, Wiz covers the fact that Scout's running speed is around 17 miles per hour, which is slightly faster than the average human speed. Now, my only issue with this part is that they don't actually show where they got that statistic from. Typically in other battles, Wiz would make some sort of comparison or measurement as evidence, but here they just say that Scout's running speed is 17 miles per hour and just call it a day. The only other thing I want to mention at this part is that I feel like they kind of ignore the fact that when Tracer isn't using her abilities, she pretty much has the same speed as a normal human, whereas Scout is naturally faster, as in he doesn't rely on technology to make him fast. Since Tracer's chrono accelerator can overheat for about 40 seconds, as I've seen some people say, it could give Scout an advantage during this period, as she won't be able to blink or recall. Speaking of the chronal accelerator, there's also the fact that it's what keeps Tracer locked into the present, meaning that if Scout was able to break it, then Tracer would constantly be shifting between time, which could potentially disorient her, but could also make it harder for Scout to hit her. Now for the biggest reason why Tracer won, which admittedly I thought the same when I first saw the video, but then I noticed the big problem with it. The main reason why Tracer won was because she supposedly has a much faster reaction time, which allows her to dodge all of Scout's attacks. This comes from the Widowmaker short, where Tracer dodges Widowmaker's sniper bullet. The death battle, whether intentional or unintentional, missed a crucial detail in this moment that reveals that Tracer's reaction speed is much slower than what they think. Death battle assumes that Tracer reacted to the shot immediately after Widowmaker fired it. However, if you watch the part where Widowmaker aims, you can see that Tracer already knew she was going to shoot the chronal accelerator. This means that in reality, Tracer reacted to Widowmaker before firing, rather than afterwards. This is where it comes to me watching part of the Widowmaker short for this video. I watched this scene and counted how long it took for Widowmaker to fire her shot after Tracer knew what she was going to do. It took about 5 seconds. This means that it is far more likely that when Tracer teleported, she actually did so before the shot, and it just so happened that she actually teleported right before the bullet would have hit her. Also, after Robot Gandhi gets killed, when Tracer teleports onto the roof of the building, she's checking the chronal accelerator in a panic to make sure it has been damaged, showing that she wasn't expecting to survive the shot. Therefore, Tracer's reaction speed is probably the same, or only a tiny bit faster, than the average human reaction speed, which wouldn't have been enough for her to dodge all of Scout's attacks. Also, considering that Scout literally has balls that distract people, which were yet again another ignored weapon, that would easily leave Tracer open for attacks. Finally, we need to also consider the fact that Widowmaker wasn't actually trying to kill Tracer. She was trying to kill Robot Gandhi, and used Tracer's teleportation to her advantage by giving her a clear shot with which to kill him. Proof of this comes from the fact that at the end of the short, Widowmaker knocks Tracer unconscious but doesn't kill her even though she had the perfect opportunity. She just leaves while going on a monologue about being scared of spiders. This shows that Widowmaker possibly manipulated the events so that Tracer would teleport, such as taking longer to fire, which allowed her to kill Robot Gandhi, meaning that once again it shows that Tracer being able to react 25 times faster than a normal human is simply not true. And that's it for this video. This was shorter than my previous Death Battle responses, but that's likely because I haven't played either game, so I don't have access to any other arguments. And on that subject, I want to quickly talk about something. I left a comment of this on the Zelda vs. Peach response, but I think it bears repeating. The reason why I've agreed with most Death Battles is because when they use a character I know little or nothing about, mainly anime characters, I'm more likely to agree with the result because I don't have the knowledge needed to know what's wrong with their reasoning. Which, to be fair, is coming from a biased viewpoint since they're justifying their choice of who the winner is. This will probably end up being the case with Roronoa Zoro versus Urza Scarlet, since I've never watched One Piece or Fairy Tail. I don't even know if I pronounced their names right. I only disagreed with Mewtwo vs. Shadow and Zelda vs. Peach because I knew a lot about both characters, so therefore I found issues with Death Battle's reasoning as to why they reached their outcome. And with Yang vs. Tifa, I agreed with it at first because I've never seen Ruby and I haven't played a Final Fantasy game, so I didn't know enough to see what was wrong with the results until a link to an article was posted in the comments of my Mewtwo vs. Shadow response, which proved that Tifa is so strong that she would kill Yang before she would get a chance to do anything, which convinced me that that battle is wrong. However, like I said before, I'm not necessarily saying this battle is wrong, since I don't know enough about Tracer and Scout, but even then, I still found issues in the reasoning for why Tracer won, which does make me lean more towards Scout having the better chances of winning. But with that, I'll see you guys for my next response video, which is one I've wanted to do for a while now. While I said I wasn't covering the Overwatch vs. TF2 debate in this video, I think it's time that I covered a different kind of debate.